want, because I can appreciate that there's some teams out there who don't necessarily need quite that same level of physicality and finishing mentality because they're going to be pass protecting so much. And so they basically are going to be, just dropping back and trying to, hold the point of attack. But I want to run the ball. I want to impose our will, kind of a thing. And so I am definitely looking for that finish. So it's just interesting that so many of the traits that you identified are the same ones that I'm picking out. I'm going to switch over to the guards, and I'm just going to mention a couple of players who I think are among the absolutely elite in the NFL here. And just so happens that one of them is a guard that you drafted, Scott. To me, for my money, the guy who has been the best, the longest, I gotta mention David DeCastro for the Steelers. I mean, I thought that he was one of the best looking offensive guards that I had seen coming out of college football when he left Stanford. And granted, Stanford has since just churned out guy after guy after guy. But DeCastro, to me, is one of those guys who has been everything as expected of him, and more so for the Steelers, is asked to pass protect as well as run block. And that's one of the reasons I like him. Brandon Scherff, again, for the Washington Redskins, who you drafted a few years back. Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys. I think you could make the argument that he should be the top of the list. But those are some of the guards that really jump out to me. Is there other guards out there or those guards that you want to make a comment, or anybody else that you want to make a comment about the top guards that you've seen in the NFL here recently?
Well, the thing about those three, they're good players. Of course, I'm not biased because that's not my style to be biased.
Yeah.
Brandon Scherff's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Zach Martin's excellent. Yeah. There's no question about it. And it's so different from a tackle to a guard from the standpoint of what you ask them to do and how they're supposed to pass protect and run block.
Yep.
It's unique because once you move inside, it's because like Scherff was a left tackle.
Yep. Yep.
Never played guard. He walked in day one, they put him a guard, and it was hands down easy. It's like any position. It's just the instincts, understanding the game, but once you start moving guys inside compared to a tackle, is the fact that there's so many moving parts.
Yeah.
With stunts and, all that stuff, because when they usually blitz from inside.
Yep.
So is it a safety come in? Is it a linebacker come in? You have a corner blitz at times, don't get me wrong, on the outside, but majority of the stuff, your eyes have to be so good, it's not even funny because you got so much action going on in front of you, and you have the play call, and you have your call for the O-line, but you still got to be able to see it and adjust to it. And the guys you mentioned are excellent at it, and there's a lot of good guards out there. The thing about that, the way I always look at guards is, of course, you got to have foot quickness.
Yep.
You got to have hand quickness, but you have to have strength. And you have to be tough as all get out.
Yeah.
You have to be able to move people off the ball. And the guys you mentioned can do that.
Well, yeah, they certainly can. And it's, as you said, they got to be tough as all get out. I mean, that's the thing is that when I first started scouting a little bit, it seemed like I'm going to talk about cornerbacks for a moment. It seems like every time there was a 5'8", 5'9" corner, then everybody would say, oh, just drop him in, he'll be the nickel. Or 5'8", 5'9" wide receiver, oh, just drop him inside, he'll be a slot wide receiver. And people don't appreciate just how difficult that transition is and how the closer you get to the line of scrimmage, the more physical it's going to get. Well, the same thing with offensive linemen, of course. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, Scott, but you start evaluating these college offensive tackles, there's not many that could make the transition that Brandon Scherff did, for Washington that quickly. Because it is so much closer, those 1-0 techniques and everything. I mean, you basically can smell their breath in your face. I mean, they're right there, and there's just no opportunity to kind of ease back into pass protection the way that the tackles do. I mean, those guards, and centers are getting it right immediately. So, I think that to me is one of the more underrated elements of evaluating offensive linemen. Do they have the core strength? Can they really bend their knees and absorb Otherwise, they're just going to get bull rushed all day long. And you see these guys who are so tall that cannot make that transition. They're 6'7". They have to be outside because once they get inside, they just cannot bend low enough. And the 6-footers, the 6'2" guys are going to just knock them on their butt.
Completely accurate. Completely accurate.
Well, and then finally, the last position, of course, and in some ways is the most important one, especially in today's era, where, as you mentioned, Scott, there's so many blitzes, so many games that are being played, especially on the inside, and that's the center position. For my money, again, another one that's the top two centers, in my opinion, I think you could make an argument would be Alex Mack, Atlanta, Marquise Pouncey, again with the Steelers, his brother Mike Pouncey, as well as the Chargers. I mean, they're just a different level of athleticism and size. If all I want was athletic ability, if all I want is quickness, then I think a guy like a Jason Kelsey in Philadelphia, I mean, his quickness, the second level, and all the different things they do, it's phenomenal. Rodney Hudson in Oakland. But I want guys who also can maul you at the point of attack. I want that 6'4", 320. I want you to be able to move people. And so in my opinion, that's why Mack and the Pouncey twins, to me, kind of are a little bit different than some of the other top centers in the NFL, with, again, a little bit of a statement or a little bit of a tip of the cap to Travis Frederick, who we're all wishing for a speedy recovery for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing about it is when you evaluate, during the fall, which you do like I do, majority of the time the reasons guys are playing center is because they're undersized.
Yep.
But they're quick, they're smart, they're instinctive, they're tough enough. I was watching a guy today, and it was 6'4", 305 pounds. I'm like, wow, you don't see that very often anymore in college football, with the spread offense and all that stuff.
Yep.
But of course you want size. Of course, the Pounceys are good examples, very good examples. I like both of them a lot. But they're hard to find. But the thing is, you still have to have the ability to move people off the ball, because if you're going to play in December, you're going to play in January, and bad weather and all that kind of stuff, you got to be able to run the football. But the center's also got to be smart enough to be the guy that lines them up, makes the mic call, gets everybody set for whatever plays going on, and knowing everybody's on the same page with him. But it's a unique position, and if you find a good one, you better keep him, because, I was lucky enough to be with Max Unger, in Seattle.
Yep.
And he was incredible. I mean, not only from the standpoint as a player, but his leadership and his intelligence of each play, what's going on. And every player would listen to him. We had good players there too, on the offensive line. But Max ran the whole show, ran the whole thing. And he wasn't the biggest guy.
No.
I mean, he's big enough, but not the biggest guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, everybody doesn't talk about it much because it's like a guard, it's the center. They're not the big names. They talk about the tackles because so-and-so, what. But they're just as important as the tackles. Just as important.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways they're even more important now. I think that we're seeing teams, because the quarterback's getting the ball out of their hands so quickly, that there's just, unless you have the Von Millers, the Khalil Macks kind of guys, that can just get upfield off the edge in a blink. I mean, there's only a few guys like that, but there's a lot of teams that have some pretty talented interior pass rushers or blitzing linebackers, blitzing safeties. And so I think that it's even more important now. I have conversations with quarterbacks, and they say, certainly no one wants to get hit from their blind side, never see it coming. But in terms of just completing passes, when you've got a 300-pounder barreling down right in front of your face, that disrupts things as much as anything. And that's where I've seen not only quarterbacks like Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, the shorter guys, it makes sense. But as we started off the show talking about Tom Brady, some of the pressures that he was struggling with here in recent games has been when they've had quarterbacks or pass rushers right in his face. And so I think that is all the more reason why centers and guards, I think you're going to continue to see them get that first or at least second round consideration that just was not likely to happen years ago.
I know. I know this. When I took Scherff,
Yeah.
Jay Gruden was like, well, he's probably going to be a guard. I said, I don't care. He could be a center. I want the best 5 we could possibly have on the field.
Yeah.
He says, well, you're going to take him at number 5? I'm like, yeah, I'm taking him. He's the best football player on the board at number 5. Yes, I am. and I understand everybody wants the pretty big, long left tackle. Eric Flowers is coming out that year, and everybody's like, well, why don't you take him? He's 6'5" and change. He's got 35-inch arms, and he tested well and all that. I said, I don't care. I'm taking the football player, that's going to lock down and take care of the running game and take care of the quarterback, so everybody talk about how important it is to have good tackles, which I totally agree. You'd like to have good tackles, and they usually go higher than guards and centers. I understand that. But look at all the good guards and centers that have gone and are going to Pro Bowls and how good of players they are.
Yeah.
It's about the 11 guys. It's not about the left tackle. It's not about the right tackle. It's about the 5. It's about the quarterback. It's about the running game. It's about the tight end. It's about the defense. It's about the special teams. That's when you start building good teams.
Well, it's an excellent point. And that to me is one of the reasons why that I'm excited to kind of talk to you about this next segment. And that is kind of looking ahead towards the 5 teams that are projected to pick in the top 5 in the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, of course, we have a couple of more weeks to go, and so there could be a little bit of movement. We had the San Francisco 49ers, who were in contention to have the number 1 overall pick just a couple of weeks ago, but in large part to their victory this last week over the Seahawks, then now they've dropped to 4. So let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. They right now are projected to pick number 1 overall. Obviously, last year they selected the quarterback in Josh Rosen, so we know that they are not likely to go with another quarterback at number 1 overall, even if they decide there is one worthy of that type of selection. Maybe they'd be looking to trade out of that pick. I would think that it makes sense. We talked a lot so far that this year's defensive line class is terrific, but I would say this as far as the Arizona Cardinals. They are dead last, Scott, in points scored, 13.2 per game, in yards on offense, 243 per game, passing yards, dead last, 160.8 per game, and rushing yards, 82.4, also dead last. So they have a new offensive coordinator in Byron Leftwich. He's helped the team, has started to show a little bit of signs of life on the offensive side of the ball. If you were in charge of the Cardinals, what is an area that you think that this team could stand to improve?
I just think the best player, buddy.
No, I hear you, and that's the thing.
Hands down, offense, defense. I think the best player.
Well, yeah.
If you push a need, which there's a reason why they're not winning.
Yep. And
there's a reason why they don't have enough depth at certain positions or good enough starters at certain positions. You can say, well, let's take an offensive lineman no matter what. Let's take a receiver no matter what. Majority of the time, if you do that, you get burned. You get burned bigger in life because all of a sudden you passed on 2 or 3 guys. See, the way I set my board was by position, by rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And if all of a sudden you start reaching down, you got a guy above them at a different position, or you say you got a corner that you have, in top 1 or middle 1, and then you got a tackle, offensive tackle at the bottom of 1 or top of 2, and you say, well, we need a tackle. We need a tackle because the coaches are going to get involved and say that. But that's what we have to have. I've got burnt more than not doing that. So personally, I just think they're the best player because you know what? There's a reason why you have the first pick, second pick, fifth pick, whatever, because you're not good. And you got to start building blocks. You got to start building. And that's what we did in San Fran. That's what we did in Seattle.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to do in Washington.
Yep.
He's got to build, and it's not a quick fix. Be like, great, well, now we got a left tackle, but what about the corner? What about the pass rusher we passed on?
Yep.
And it's just like, wow, because all of a sudden 2 years later you'd be like, shoot, he's a good player. we should have drafted him. Well, yeah, you had him rate higher. Why not take him?
Exactly.
So my philosophy is just take the best player. Now, if you have a quarterback that you like you said with Rosen, you're not going to take a quarterback no matter what.
Yeah.